I had a female caller asking for help, and she said she's just been attacked, and she just kept repeating, "Help me, help me, help me."
The medical examiner's office told us today that Sherman was stabbed 11 times on Sunday, right down here in this walkway behind the Galleria.
A lot of people would like to see this case solved, and she deserves justice.
We are finally one step closer to getting justice for Aliza Sherman. More than a decade after her brazen killing, her divorce attorney has been arrested and charged with her mysterious murder. Plus, week number 3 of defendant Karen Reed's retrial begins after days of very long testimony and questioning of witness Jennifer McCabe. So what is the jury thinking? And what is the Commonwealth's next move? Plus, Gwyneth Paltrow says she won't be shaken down. The actress opening up about her infamous ski crash trial, talking about everything that's allegedly wrong with the legal system. And it is a big day for Sean Diddy Combs as jury selection begins for his sex trafficking trial. So what type of jurors could tip the scales? It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you. Welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We've got a wonderful show planned for you, so let's get started. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. It's about time. It's about time that Aliza Sherman and her kids got some justice for her murder. Sherman's cold case in Cleveland, Ohio may have finally been solved. Police say that her divorce lawyer, Gregory Moore, is her killer. That's what police say. They've charged him with her murder after years of a big cloud of suspicion hanging over this guy's head. Police say it was either Moore or some unnamed accomplice who stabbed the nurse and mother of 4 to death back in 2013. To me, this case has always stunk to high heaven because Aliza Sherman was on her way to meet her divorce lawyer when she was killed. And somebody carried out this very targeted stabbing attack on her right before that meeting. Aliza Sherman's husband never cooperated in the investigation. He died last year. Her loved ones have been hoping and praying for answers. And what's more, police say this was an attempt to delay Sherman's divorce trial, which was supposed to start the very next day. That's right. And Gregory Moore has a criminal history when it comes to causing trial delays. Did you know that he used to call in bomb threats to courthouses? You heard me right. To delay his cases, call in bomb threats. What a disgrace to the legal profession this guy is. I want to know who he allegedly conspired with to do the murder. Because I got to tell you, my friends, this case is one for the books. And if that attorney, Gregory Moore, did what police say he did to his client, Aliza Sherman, then he needs the book thrown at him. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
Once I saw my son and I basically passed out on him, I just laid on him and just started crying. And I just burst out and said, "What the is going on here? This does not look like no pepper spray and no tasing."
In Tennessee, the beating of Tyree Nichols. This trial is called the beating of Tyree Nichols murder trial. Long name for a case, but you remember when this one happened, right? This was a couple years ago. This young man beaten to death by police officers in Memphis, Tennessee. They were already convicted federally, but now they're in trial in state court. Court's going to resume at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and we're going to continue following that trial for you then. In New York, we've got jury selection beginning in Diddy's sex trafficking case. We're not going to have any cameras inside the courtroom. We're going to monitor any developments for you. And in Massachusetts, we've got week 3 of defendant Karen Reed's retrial. This is for the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. And that is our top story this morning. The Commonwealth case continuing at 9 a.m. We'll go in there live together when it does. Friday, we saw key witness Jennifer McCabe continuing her testimony after 3 days on the stand. Prosecutors were hoping that she would appear as a trustworthy, credible witness. The defense was trying to accuse her of colluding with others in what only the defense team is claiming was an alleged cover-up scheme. Let's look back at some key moments of the case.
Describe her demeanor.
Miss Reed's?
Yes.
Jen! Jen! And then she's screaming that John didn't come home. She left him at the waterfall. She was hysterical. It was very hard to follow what she was saying. She started saying, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? I don't. And then she just was just all over the place, like screaming my name, screaming so many different things. She was hard to follow or understand.
You had no reason to believe they weren't okay. A man was dead or dying on their lawn, and your sister's not answering the phone. And nobody is coming out to the chaos of Karen Reed screaming on the front lawn. You didn't think there was some reason to believe they could have been in peril?
I didn't, because your client was screaming she hit him. She had a cracked taillight. She was crying she hit him. I didn't, but my focus... Can I finish, please?
You had solved the crime right then and there. You solved the whole case.
No, I didn't. I knew John never came in the house, so I had no concern for anyone's safety inside the house.
All right, and then there was a forensic scientist who took the stand, testifying that Karen Reed's blood alcohol level at 12:45 a.m. was over the legal limit. We know it was over the legal limit in the morning at 9:30 or whenever it was drawn again. So how damaging is that retrograde analysis? Going back all those hours, 9 drinks in a 3-hour period. Let's bring in our guests and talk about this, and also talk about the impression that Jennifer McCabe might have left with the jury. Let's welcome in attorneys Tommy Pope and Mario Gallucci right now. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
All right.
Good morning.
So let's tackle both of these things in turn. So let's start with Jennifer McCabe. The impression that you both think that she left with the jury. Tommy, would you start us off, please?
Julie, you've only heard me say this about 1,000 times. I always wish we could see the faces of the jury. I know why we don't, but I think she handled herself well. The one counter to that, I'd say, is, kind of the histrionics of the cross. And, he was cutting her off a lot. He was not letting her finish. He was not letting her explain. I know the prosecution had objected a certain amount, but, maybe less than they could. But again, maybe they're reading the jury. Some jurors like that. They watch TV and they expect an attorney to be kind of rude and snappy, and so they may like that. But I thought factually, she held up extremely well, was extremely patient, and I think it showed.
Right. I agree, Tommy. I thought she was an excellent witness. Mario, your thoughts on Jennifer McCabe, please.
I couldn't agree more. I thought that she did a very good job. I agree with Tommy that the defense attorney was all over her, but that's his job, but sometimes you could go too far. Sometimes that turns a jury off. They're not always wanting for you to go that far. So the defense attorney's job in this case is to say, what kind of skin does she have in the game to go against her friend? And the argument is that she's colluding with other people. Well, show that. Try to bring that out in the cross-examination. And I don't think they were very successful in doing that at all.
I'm with you, Mario. Thank you both for your assessment there. Let's turn to the blood alcohol content. I have some numbers for you both, and you both have tried a lot of DUI cases. So we know that at 9 a.m., on January 29th, 2020, 9 a.m., when Karen Reed was at the hospital, she was over the legal limit then. She was a 0.092%, 9 a.m. So this is so many hours after her drinking. The retrograde analysis said that she was somewhere between 0.14 and 0.28 when at 12:45 a.m. That night. Okay, so 0.14 and 0.28% at 12:45 a.m. Tommy Pope, we know that this accident is alleged to have occurred shortly before then. We know it was at 12:32 a.m. that John O'Keefe's phone stops moving forever and ever. Your thoughts on whether the Commonwealth has established that Karen Reed was drunk at the time of the incident in question?
I think they have, scientifically, to the extent that we're allowed to. The only answer that kind of rebuts that is if suddenly she went home that night and she was so upset she started drinking then, or she got up nervous, he wasn't home, and she drank then. That's what we used to hear, the DUI guy that would run from the police and he would go in his house and get out of the car and then claim that he didn't start drinking until he was at the house because the police were after him. So I think they've established it, Julie. I would say that kind of anecdotally or commonsensically, the fact that she's drunk the next morning, that she has an alcohol content the next morning, I think most jurors would extrapolate, man, she must have really tied one on last night. So I think that they've proven up, but I'm not sure that that was in question based on just the basic facts.
That's a good point. We have her own statements admitting it. I've got a clip for you both. Let's take a look at this one where she's talking about how buzzed she was.
And is the level of intoxication pretty high here for everybody?
It's happy.
Yeah.
It's
because you'd had a lot to drink, right?
I wouldn't say I had like a normal amount. Like a vodka tonic every 40 minutes.
Okay. And so are you feeling like buzzed? And I'm not judging, I'm just trying to get a sense.
Buzzed.
A vodka tonic every 40 minutes, Mario. I don't know what's worse, her statements or the blood draw. Which do you think's more damaging for this woman?
So there's no question in my mind that she was bombed. I think that the prosecution has proved without any doubt that she was bombed at the time that this occurred, and she had alcohol in the system. And Tommy's right. That's the classic defense to a DWI. At the time I was intoxicated. I was not operating a motor vehicle. You got those people that drive around with sealed bottles in the car. They get pulled over. They turn the car off, throw the keys out the window, start guzzling the bottle. So, there's no question in my mind she was drunk. But what effect did that intoxication have on the events that led to the death? And that's what they're trying to determine. Was she so drunk that she did not remember running him over? Was she so drunk that everything she said, it can't be, taken as being credible? It's a big question here, is the intoxication level.
Definitely. Great points, Mario. Thank you. I want to direct both of your attention to the clip that was introduced in the testimony on Friday before they concluded for the day. This was introduced in between Jennifer McCabe's testimony and the scientist who talked about the retrograde blood analysis. This was one from the documentary that aired on ID Discovery, A Body in the Snow, but we know that not all the footage made air. So many of us saw this clip and thought, oh my, didn't know she said that. Let's take a look.
And in the back, leaning over the front two seats, Carrie's driving and Jen's in the passenger seat. And I described this to everyone, so you've probably heard this before, but John looked like a buffalo on the prairie. It was just a lawn and a heat that it wasn't a bush or a hydrant or a dog. It was a weird shaped lump at that time in those elements. And I was looking to find him on the side of the road. I was expecting I'd find him.
I was looking to find him on the side of the road. I was expecting I would find him. What in the world? And this woman wants to convince the world that this didn't happen, that this didn't happen. Mario, your thoughts when you hear her say that?
So let's go back to Jen McCabe's testimony when they arrived at the scene, that she knew exactly where to look for the body. That to me has been telling from the get-go in this case. Karen Reed knew exactly where any incident that occurred, she knew exactly where it was. She knew exactly where the body was. She knew exactly where to go. And immediately upon arriving at the scene, she said, there he is, there he is. So yes, that is very telling. And there's another reason why you should never, ever, ever, ever have your client do any type of TV show prior to a trial or even after a trial when there are still appellate things that could proceed.
Amen, Mario. Great points. We've got to leave it there for now. Tommy, you're going to be doing more analysis with us in our 9 o'clock hour on this one. And my friends, what a week it will be as the Commonwealth is still cooking with gas, presenting their case. They've got the burden. Karen Reed cloaked in the presumption of innocence. Still ahead here on Opening Statements.
I take the gun out, and as it clears, as the barrel clears, I turn and cock the gun. I turn and cock the gun goes off. It's supposed to be a cold gun.
The Rust film debuted this weekend, but many people still think about the fatal shooting on the set. So is film star Alec Baldwin still getting blamed? And actress Gwyneth Paltrow speaking out about her ski crash lawsuit and why she says the legal system is broken.
Is Karen Reed a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
Karen Reed was framed!
Karen Reed is accused of murdering her police officer boyfriend.
And stated repeatedly, I hit him, I hit him.
She may end up taking the stand. Her first trial ended with a hung jury. They haven't proven anything.
Will a jury finally agree on a verdict? We know who did it.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Bonanza Creek Ranch has had 2 people accidentally shot on a movie set by a prop gun. Is it loaded with a real bullet or what? I cannot tell you that.
So you tell me what to do. You tell me what to do. We would appreciate that, and then we'll... When do you want me to do that? We're going to probably go right now.
Well, there were 3 firearms that were located on the set within close proximity to the incident.
You have the right to stop questioning at any time or stop questioning for the purpose of consulting a lawyer.
So my only question is, am I being charged with something?
Alec Baldwin was charged, and remember, he faced a jury only for that case to be dismissed in the fatal shooting death of Helena Hutchins, the film's cinematographer. But the Rust movie shooting is back trending again in true crime. Why? Because the film made its debut in theaters over the weekend.
The only order that exists in this world is an order we impose. If a man loses sight of that, he's got nothing.
The Western, which is also available on streaming platforms, struggled with an estimated opening gross of only $25,000 from 115 theaters. Now, for some perspective, here's a look at the top 5 films over the weekend, according to Deadline. Thunderbolts, the weekend's top-grossing film, also opened with Rust, but grabbed $76 million. Proceeds from the film will help fund the settlement of the wrongful death lawsuit brought by Helena Hutchins' family. And so we're asking, should Alec Baldwin be more vocal in promoting this movie? Let's bring in our power panel guest. Still with me, attorney Tommy Pope, and want to welcome in law enforcement expert Sunny Slaughter, who got her honorary doctorate degree over the weekend. So congratulations, Dr. Slaughter. Welcome on Opening Statements this morning, our friend. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Julie. Nice to see you too.
So, Sunny, what do you think? You watched the Rust trial with us, gave us so much analysis on this one when it was going. You were there for all of it, the start of it, the dismissal. This is, you know, a film that Alec Baldwin is so closely associated with. Should he be doing more, do you think, to promote the film?
I think he has to do it very uniquely if he wants to, and because there was a death that, a horrific death and a trial and so much controversy. So I believe in order for him to promote the film, he needs to, or the marketing team needs to come up with a strategy that also informs the public that much of this, the funds will go towards the family of the victim in this particular case. But then it also puts a dark light on it, and people might not want to even support it. But I think they do have to figure out a unique way to let the public know that the funds will support the family, because she had small children.
Right. I love what you just said, Sonny. It's about the optics. You know, there might be people that might say, oh, this is too upsetting to watch this, knowing that the cinematographer died in the process. But then if you kind of flip it and flip the script to be one that's positive, this could help her family, like you said, the kids in the long run. That gives people a reason to go. Tommy, want to get your thoughts on all this, please.
I agree with Sonny. I was thinking, you know, kind of various ways to dig a little deeper. It's almost, you know, if you had at the beginning, you know how sometimes at the beginning of the movie you'll say in memory of so-and-so, and maybe they do, I don't know, because I haven't seen it and don't really intend to, but if you had something in memory of, and, you know, this making of this movie resulted in a tragedy and a life was lost and we want to honor her and blah, 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 and it would be the best if it was coming out of his mouth, because I think the fact that the case was dismissed, some people still think he's culpable and got off on a technicality. And so I think it gave him a chance kind of for a mea culpa, you know, and to kind of accept that it was a tragedy all the way around. I think it would be helpful to him. I think it would be helpful. I was thinking the flip side, though, if it has been ordered that the proceeds are going to her, he may not want to make the effort because he may think it's not really anything in it for him. And I don't know him personally. I just know exterior, you know, from the outside. But that may be the case that he doesn't think it's worth the effort.
That's certainly a fair point. Tommy, thank you for that. And you raised a point we want to discuss in the next part of this segment. So the film, just as a refresher, was directed by Joel Souza, who also was hit by that bullet that killed Helena Hutchins. He was injured but survived, recovered. He is all good to this day. And he told The Hollywood Reporter that filming Rust was just a bad decision. He said it was a bad decision. He talked with the magazine and he had this to say. He said, quote, "I wish I never wrote the damn movie." You think about the chain of events that started that morning of the shooting. It was bad decision after bad decision was made. And he goes on to talk about Alec Baldwin, saying we are not friends. We're not enemies. There's no relationship. And then when the magazine asked him about watching Baldwin's new reality show, Souza said, quote, "I think I was busy hitting myself in the face with a frying pan the night that it aired." All right. Look, we can't blame him for feeling how he feels. He feels the way he feels. He was a victim in all this. Kudos to him for finishing the film under such terrible circumstances. So, Tommy, to your point a moment ago, is Alec Baldwin still being blamed for this? You made a great point. You know, this was a technicality. I mean, you and Sonny know this was the state possibly withheld I can't talk this morning, exculpatory evidence. I just can't speak this Monday. I'm just going to say it because everyone at home, I'm sure, is thinking it. Yeah, they withheld the evidence. Happens to the best of us, right? Thank you, my friends. So they never get to test this ammunition, and the judge is incensed about it, as she should have been, and kicks the case. But as you both know, this doesn't necessarily go to his culpability if he had any. So, you know, is he still kind of getting blamed? Sonny, what do you think?
I think he is still getting blamed, and I think there is enough blame to go around for everyone in this particular film, and how it was handled, how the set was handled, how Hannah Gutierrez was allowed to even be on the set with her lack of experience and expertise. There was not enough oversight, and Alec Baldwin is responsible for the lack of oversight. You don't get to be a celebrity and be famous and this is your film, this is your work, and then you ignore all of the consequences. So this flashback, this is consequences. In the court system, criminal justice system, he was not guilty because the prosecution did not do all of the things that they needed to do, which is also another flaw in our systems. It does show the fallibility, and that, you know, this is a case that we will still continue to talk about decades later.
You're right, Sonny. Tommy, what do you think? Do you think Alec Baldwin still is getting a little bit of blame in the court of public opinion?
You just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say maybe not in the court of law, but in the court of public opinion. But I recall when we were covering it, how the thread of his tyrannical nature and him demanding and him pushing and pushing and pushing. And, you know, when the young lady was on trial for, you know, being responsible for the gun, that thread was there, that he kind of lorded over everybody. And again, in fairness, we only see him in public. We don't know him personally. Maybe he's totally different. But the impression I get from the director, from everybody, is he was kind of a tyrant. And I think that created the reckless conduct, or at least contributed to the reckless conduct that cost a life.
Right, right. There were those clips where he's kind of telling people, go, 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 move, 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 whatever he was saying, get it done, get it done. They were under a tight time crunch, apparently. So excellent points from you both. As always, Sonny and Tommy, stand by kindly, please. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, here's what's coming up on Opening Statements.
I was skiing and looking downhill, as you do, and I was skied directly into by Mr. Sanderson.
I heard something I've never heard at a ski resort, and that was a blood-curdling scream. Just, I can't do it. It was, and then, boom.
Gwyneth Paltrow now speaking out about her ski crash case, calling it a shakedown. And Diddy's due in court this morning to pick his jury for his alleged sex trafficking case. So what type of jurors will each side want? We'll talk about that and what's tipping the scales.
Was Gwyneth Paltrow at fault? No. Was Terry Sanderson at fault? Yes. Did Terry Sanderson's fault cause Gwyneth Paltrow's harm? Yes. Comparative fault. What percent of the fault do you assign to Terry Sanderson? 100%.
Actress Gwyneth Paltrow finally breaking her silence about her 2023 ski crash trial. This morning, we're spotlighting her criticism on the legal system that put her into the courtroom. A retired optometrist claimed that Paltrow rammed into him, even though he was the one who actually crashed into her. The jury even ordered the doctor who initially sued her to pay Paltrow, but she sued him back just for a nominal amount, just $1, to prove a point. To prove a point that he was wrong and she was standing up for herself. Now, she still isn't happy about the lawsuit, even though she won. She sat down for a new interview on the world's first podcast with Aaron and Sarah Foster. Take a listen to some of what she told them.
You know, it was ridiculous. And I have to say, like, the idea that somebody could ski into your back and knock you down and then sue you, I was like, this is everything that's wrong with our legal system.
Literally.
And that's why I felt like I had to fight it. I was like, I'm not going to be shaken down here.
No.
Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, good for her. Smart decision, but, you know, a stressful one, right? Litigation is really stressful, even if you're right. So the question we want to ask this morning, does Gwyneth Paltrow have a really valid point? Is she right? Is the civil system broken to a degree that the suit could get that far to the point of trial when she wasn't the one in the wrong? Let's talk about it with our guests. I want to bring back in Sonny Slaughter and attorney Mario Gallucci. Okay, so when we think about the systems, we know the civil system in America is very different than the criminal court system. Mario, being an attorney, do you ever kind of wish that we had a similar setup in the civil system like we do in criminal, where you got the magistrate court that is largely a vetting process where, you know, if a garbage case comes in, there's a judge there in that court who's going to say, not going to go up to big court like we have in the criminal system?
So, Julie, you know, the civil system, anybody can sue anybody for whatever they want to sue them for. The question is, do you find a lawyer that's able to take the lawsuit? And that's the big issue. You know, you have lawyers out there that will take any lawsuit. I mean, this gentleman ran into her on a ski slope and then sued her. So Gwyneth Paltrow's opinion is not unpopular. I think the majority of Americans agree with her. Why did she have to go through what she had to go through? Forget about the cost. And she paid for this. I mean, generally, you have an insurance company. The insurance company is going to want to settle because they don't want to pay the litigation cost. But fortunate for her, she had the ability to do this.
Right. You're right, Mario. That's a really, really, really great point. So her position, right? So we know that she has lots of money. She's a very successful actress. This is some of the reenactments her team put together to defend this. But not everybody has the means to do that reenactment like we just saw. Not everybody has the means to hire really great lawyers. Sonny, your thoughts on that? Mario's right. We have a system where anybody can file. Anybody can really file a civil lawsuit.
You know, Julie, you and Mario, like, spot on for this. What about if it was just an ordinary person and they're like, wait a minute, I've got to hire an attorney to actually represent me in court, and then I have to hire somebody to read. That is like thousands and thousands of, and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I think all of these frivolous lawsuits, it should be a crime to file a frivolous lawsuit. And I agree with both of you and with Gwyneth. I mean, how absurd. And who does this? What are we doing in America where we get to sue people just for anything, just because we can, and there are no consequences later? This is a day of consequences that we have to stop this foolishness.
Right. Amen, Sonny. I want to look back at a couple clips from both of them. Let's take a look at a clip from Gwyneth Paltrow and from the plaintiff, Dr. Terry Sanderson. Here we go.
It's impossible that I let out a noise upon being hit because it was a very slow move. It wasn't an impact. The impact came when we fell on the ground. So it's very possible that when the impact was made, I screamed, but I do not recall making a sound until we were falling or on the ground.
That is absolutely, beyond a doubt, wrong. No one spoke to me when I was needing help. No one stopped. No one.
So your testimony is Eric Christensen just sat there and looked at an unconscious man for several minutes. Is that your testimony?
Yes, he never said one word to me that I recall. Maybe when he got me up.
So Ramon, although he did try to change his deposition, did say that at one point you said, "I'm okay." Do you dispute it?
I dispute it.
So let's back the truck up a little bit. So we get to the point of trial with this one, as we know. We broadcasted it on Court TV. Gwyneth Paltrow could have settled it. She was in a position with enough money to just say, this is a nuisance. Even though I'm in the right, this guy's a nuisance suing me. I don't want to take the time out of my busy career to go through all of the litigation, but she didn't. Sonny, what do you think about that?
I think she had the courage, and she was really brave, and she was like, enough of this foolishness. When she says, I will not be shaken down, that's like gangster talk. She was like, oh no, we're not doing this. And I think it really shows her level of commitment to herself and to her children, that people will not take advantage of her celebrity status and think that they can just come for her for any reason at any time. And I think she set the bar really high for others who want to create frivolous lawsuits against celebrities in this manner.
I love those comments. Sonny, thank you. Mario, what advice do you have for someone, let's say somebody at home's watching and maybe has experienced someone filing a frivolous civil lawsuit against them? You know, a lot of times people will do it for spite. You know, I've had so many people call me, you know, because I'm a lawyer, and say, what are you, know, and they're panicked. And the first thing I say is, don't panic. This is common. It's very common, you know, to be sued sometime in your lifetime in America. What advice do you have for somebody who isn't in a Gwyneth Paltrow kind of situation, but is being faced with something that is going to be problematic because it's just unfounded?
Fight your insurance company. Battle with them. Tell them that what you did not injure this person and you're not going to settle. Unfortunately, insurance companies have a lot of power in this country. Although you're paying them, they're not there for you. They're there to make a profit. And as a result of that, they settle these frivolous lawsuits. Sunny said something very interesting. She said that it's unfortunate that you can't prosecute or sue somebody for a frivolous lawsuit, but on the criminal side, if you file a false allegation against somebody, that's a separate crime. So maybe we need to take another look at the civil system, because these types of cases just clutter up the whole entire system, and they give everybody a bad name, from lawyers to insurance companies to these plaintiffs.
Right. I love what you both are saying. Mario, thank you. Yeah, there should be some kind of penalty. People shouldn't be allowed to weaponize the civil system and jam people up, but it's very expensive. That's the thing. It's very costly to just drag somebody through the mud just for the sake of it. But, you know, the right result was reached, fortunately, here for her. The jury saw what was up with these facts, and fortunately, she could put it behind her. We'll leave it there for now. We'll report any updates with Gwyneth Paltrow if she keeps on addressing the suit. For now, I've got to say goodbye to you both and let you both get off to court. Mario Gallucci, Sunny Slaughter, thank you both so very much. And Sunny, congrats again on your honorary doctorate. We'll see you soon. Coming up next here on Opening Statements.
The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
Diddy's sex trafficking trial starts this morning with jury selection. So how could that tip the scales? And live look at the courtroom in Dedham, Massachusetts, as we're getting ready for testimony to resume in the retrial for defendant Karen Reed.
This week.
Did Karen Reed kill John O'Keefe? We're previewing each day's proceedings in the murder trial that has captivated the nation.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Weekday mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
You watched while your patient was lying there being tortured.
What else was I supposed to do?
So much for your career in caretaking.
Interview with a Killer season finale. Sunday at 8 on Court TV.
All right, now let's talk about what is tipping the scales of justice. Jury selection kicks off today in the trial for Sean Diddy Combs in federal court in New York, where he's accused of sex trafficking. Now, no cameras allowed because it's federal court. Unfortunately, they should change that law. That's another discussion for another day. Diddy's pleaded not guilty to this 5-count indictment. He's looking at decades in prison if he's convicted. But his attorneys say they are ready to fight.
He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent. And we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight anymore.
150 prospective jurors will be showing up in person for the questioning to be done by the court over the next few days. So what kind of jurors will each side be looking for? Let's talk about that. Who would you want ideally on this case if you were either one of the prosecutors or one of Diddy's defense attorneys? Let's bring in attorney Tommy Pope and welcome in entertainment commentator Holland Reed. Okay, so the ideal jurors. Let's start with the prosecutors. And it is an all-female team of prosecutors who's prosecuting Diddy. So who ideally might they be looking for here? Holland, would you start us off? Who do you think might be a great juror from the government's perspective?
Oh, gosh, Julie, that's a hard question because it's going to be almost impossible to find a biased, or I'm sorry, impartial juror who does not know Puff Daddy, Diddy, Sean, whatever you want to call him. I'm thinking someone that is not going to be easily weirded out by some of the context of the materials that's going to be given to them as evidence. Someone that is okay with looking at really, I would have to just say disgusting evidence across the board. Someone that maybe doesn't care for his music. It's really going to be hard to get 12 jurors that do not know who he is and doesn't have an opinion, given this is such a huge trial in the entertainment industry and media.
Right. Oh, and you hit on some really great things. Maybe somebody who's not a fan doesn't like him. If you're a prosecutor, yeah, and like you said, who's not afraid to look at the unpleasant evidence that's surely coming their way. Yeah, I love those points. Tommy, you were a sensational prosecutor. You were solicitor in South Carolina, put away Susan Smith. She's still behind bars, thank goodness for that. Tell me, who ideally or would you be looking for on this one?
Well, what I've just learned is I shouldn't have gone to law school because Holland nailed it without even having a law degree.
She did, I know.
I don't know what I've got to add. I used to always tell people, with our jury strikes that I was looking for just truly, this sounds cliche, but discerning jurors, and I agree with Holland. They're going to see and hear some things that, they may have never been exposed to. Obviously, to be truly fair, you don't, maybe they're going to border these questions of, do you like his music? Do you not? Do you have any racial bias? Do you not? And so I just want a discerning juror, particularly if they have the volume of evidence that they believe they do, because with numerous counts, there's going to be technicalities and sorting out the evidence, and it's going to take a unique juror. It's like, I agree, it's going to be rare somebody that hadn't heard something about it, and the judge always throws in, can you set that aside? And you got to be careful because sometimes people want to be on juries and high-profile juries, and that can be dangerous for both sides. And so you've got to kind of watch that. But people that can truly set it aside and be rational and discerning really plays well. And now flip to the defense. I think that if they truly believe in their case, then they would want the same type of jurors. But I'm sure you'll ask that question in a minute.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, my friend. Yes, so the defense side, let's go there. So who might they want? Are they looking for fans? Perhaps kind of the opposite. Holland, you were saying, like, if you're on the government side, maybe somebody who doesn't care for him or his music or whatever, thinks he's too rich or whatever bias they might have. What about the people the defense is looking for? Who would you ideally want if you're Diddy and his team, Holland?
Oh, I'm going to go right back to that original point. It's going to be very hard to find someone that does not know who he is. So I think you're also in the state of New York. He's from New York. So maybe people that have a little bit more sympathy for him say, hey, this is just a lifestyle. This is what he did. Everybody was consensual. Someone that just thinks that this is what you do when you're a celebrity or when you're from a big city. I'm going to think and hope that people will, like, as Pope said, not be discerning in this. This is going to be really tricky.
Right. No, it really is. And what about, between men and women? I wanted to ask you both that question. Tommy, what do you think for the Diddy defense team? Are you wanting more men, more women? How would you go?
I think it cuts into two slices. I think as far as men, going back to what Holland said, that it's kind of just a lifestyle. It may not be your lifestyle. It may be some that some of the men would aspire to, and so I think you look for men like that. I think you look for people that distrust the system in general. Maybe they've had a bad experience with an arrest that they didn't do. You could almost ask a voir dire question, something to the effect, have you or a friend ever been charged with a crime that you didn't commit, or something like that, if that was permitted by the judge. But I think people that, we're supposed to come in balanced, but I think what you're really looking for is people that, think that he's getting railroaded, and, and that demographic of folks that just think they picked on him for whatever reason. And, you only need one. The prosecution needs 12. You only need one to hang a jury.
That's true. I really think he's got a great shot at a fair trial because when you think just the general public, probably most people are fans and like his music, or at least appreciate and respect what he's done, even if you don't care for the music, at least, and then makes you wonder, okay, we know he had a lot of civil suits. Is this about money? So I think he's really going to get a fair trial. Holland, last question. I just need a real quick answer. What do you think about the age group? If you're Diddy's team, would you go for like people in their 30s and 40s who probably grew up with the music?
Oh, absolutely. We're going to go anywhere from, I would say, 35 to 45 to 50. And I think that's going to be a sweet spot age group. People that are fans that have followed him, that respect his work.
Right. I'm with you, Holland. I think he's definitely going to get a fair trial. This is not going to be an easy case for the government, that's for sure. Tommy and Holland, we have to leave it there for now. Tommy, you're going to come with us and give us analysis on the Karen Reed trial. And Holland, I know you're a busy person. You're an actress, photographer, all of that, speaker. We need to let you get going and get on with your day. But thank you for the commentary on this case. Absolutely. We'll see you back here next week, I hope. And that is all for this episode of Opening Statements, friends. You can watch it again, share it. We're here every weekday morning to get you all ready for the court day ahead.